Among the most amazing of all humanity's traits is the process by which the workaday necessities of one era can become objects of beauty and recreation for an era that follows. What people of old did for a living, people of today do for pleasure. And what people of old toiled to build, people of today toil to preserve. Tim Sample has sent us this postcard from Maine.
I couldn't have been more than 6 or 7 years old when I got my first look at the schooner Victory Chimes. To my young eyes, she was a vessel out of a storybook. I imagined pirates perched in her rigging and curious sea serpents following in her wake.
Can you stand by on the port side?
To a kid, she seemed enormous, with sturdy beams and polished brightwork and masts that almost touched the sky. Now I'm grown up, and you know what? The Victory Chimes really is enormous and stunning to look at, and magical too.
There's volumes written about wooden boats. I don't know.
To walk along the deck of the Victory Chimes is to marvel all over again that something so big and so bold could be built from wood.
Wooden boats, it's not a hobby, it's sort of a way of life here.
For Captain Kip Files, the huge amount of work it takes to keep the Victory Chimes seaworthy is worth it.
It's kind of a love affair.
Oh, it has to be. It's too much work not to be. Floating the stern yet, Normie?
No. I'm not going to let it float until you know everything's all right.
Let me know when that bow clears, John.
Thousands of schooners were launched from ways and shipyards up and down the Maine coast. There were 2 and 3 masters, and some with 4 and 5 masts, and a few with 6. The 6-masted schooner Wyoming was launched from Bath, Maine in 1909, the largest wooden cargo-carrying sailing vessel ever built.
Most of the great ladies of the sea have come to a bad end. All that remains of these proud 4 masters, the Hesper and the Luther Little, are a few rotting spars and some rusted rigging. And even this remnant of Maine's seafaring past will soon disappear into the mudflats along the Sheepscot River.
But this one magnificent 3-masted schooner still sails along the Maine coast. The Victory Chimes was originally built to haul timber from the Carolinas almost a century ago. These days she carries passengers, not freight, but she very narrowly avoided a different fate.
She was on her way to become a restaurant in Japan, and we were sitting in the aft cabin just shaking our heads figuring this piece of Americana can't go.
A handful of schooners sailed the Maine waters with the Victory Chimes. 2 masters with names like the Mary Day, the Nathaniel Bowditch, the Roseway, the Mercantile, and the Louis R. French. Most of them have gathered here in the Fox Island thoroughfare between North Haven and Vinyl Haven Islands for the great schooner race.
It must have looked like this 100 years ago when schooners gathered in busy ports up and down the coast of Maine, loaded with Maine timber, granite, and ice bound for ports to the south, and 5- and 6-masted schooners returning from the Far East with textiles and tea.
I don't know where you'd go in the world to see a sight like this, but it runs the goosebumps up and down my neck every time I see this.
Gib Philbrick is the captain of the Nathaniel Bowditch.
Look at those lines and the curves and everything, and you know, you can see why they call them ladies. They got nice shape.
The schooners are beautiful, but they were not built for beauty.
Every one of these vessels was built for a purpose. You take the Victory Chimes back there. Why, she could carry more in her after cabin than I can carry my whole hold. I'm built more like a wedge, and it was to get fish out on the Grand Banks or out off George's Banks and get it back in faster than some other boat, because the first boat in got the best price. And there were hundreds of those going one right after the other. You know, instead of tractor trailers, it was that wind pushing them.
On the day of the great schooner race, 18 gaff-rigged schooners set sail for Rockland Harbor. For a few hours, it was possible to imagine that you'd been transported back to the age of sail, when Maine youngsters dreamed of shipping out to India and Cathay. But even in the great age of sail, sea captains had to deal with the fickle wind.
You know, the old-time sailors must have been awful patient. Just wait for the breeze, wait for the breeze.
When the wind is up and you have fair skies and so forth, well, give me an idea what it's really like out here. When you're really clipping along, what you're feeling.
You know, I think it's a feeling that's very difficult to explain. It's really exhilarating. The feeling you get when you change direction and you have to use your body to, you know, all your muscles to tack and do all that stuff. It's quite a feeling. They call it sea fever or something, you know. Once you catch it, hard to get rid of it.
It's clear that Maine's maritime tradition is alive and under sail here in Penobscot Bay. And as long as there are people who love the creak of the wooden hull and the snap of the canvas, these magnificent schooners will continue to cast their spell.